Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bookcraft podcast. My name is Colleen. I am your host, debut author, serial entrepreneur, successful reading retreat host, and I am actually recording this on May 22nd. I am almost done all of my events that I decided, I don't know why, to jam pack into the months of February through till May. My January self was very optimistic of how much I could get done. My May self just wants it to be over. I finished the reading retreat, and I actually wanted to talk about my takeaways from the reading retreat, because we had 10 of us. We were out in nature. We were reading books. We were doing all of the things. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Very, I don't know if it was like serendipity, but Martha Stewart magazine actually just posted on May 20th an article written by one of her writers, Wendy Rose Gould, and it was all about reading retreats and why they're becoming so popular, why people are flocking to events like reading retreats, um, historical places that are, steeped in literary, history as a place to go, staycation type events where you're, not too far from home, but you're taking that opportunity to unwind, unplug from the world, read books, and the article has actually some really interesting points. I'm going to pull the article up in a second, but for my retreat that we just finished, so one of the things that we do, and when I say we, I mean me, is figuring out places and spaces. So what's going to be a good place for people to go? Where are my guests coming from? Am I looking for sort of the far-flung guest that's going to travel a long distance to the event? Or am I looking more for people that are local, that want to not spend a ton of time traveling, but spend more of their time, their hard-earned time off, actually enjoying the thing that they have signed up for? So with the event that we just did, so we do an amazing, I think it's a fantastic way to kind of organize it. We start at 4 p.m. on Friday. So kind of encourage people, if you are, doing the Monday to Friday slog, you can maybe get off a little bit early and come and join. And then we go all the way through till Sunday at 4 o'clock. So no checking out at 10 a.m. on Sunday where you're like, dang, I only had like one day of reading, really. So you go all the way to 4 o'clock. Now, with that, that means for myself as the host, I am preparing the Friday night meal, all 3 meals for Saturday, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then breakfast and lunch on Sunday. So it gives people a chance to, they can have 6 meals with me. And then we have all the snacks and the treats and the hot drinks and the bevies and, everything that you can think of. But you also, with the retreats that I do, is the reason that we've picked the location that we use, which is Rising Moon Studios. They're just outside of Sherwood Park. They're if you're looking at a map of Alberta and you see Edmonton as the capital city, we are just outside of Edmonton, and you go east, and that's where the facility is at. And it's a beautiful location. It's on about 25 acres. And the reason that I love it is not only does it sleeps 20. I won't ever do an event with 20 people because I don't want people to feel like there's not space to move. I kind of like that 10 to 12. So we had 10 people for this last event. But when you're looking at creating events, and one of the things that it talks about in the Martha Stewart article is the opportunity to take care of yourself, and you aren't worried about all the other things from home, but you don't even have to worry about making your meal. Like, you can literally just concentrate on what you're there for, which is the reading part of it. So I think when we, people that organize events, people that put on events, and they start to think about all of the logistics of it, you have to also build in the spaces for people. So yes, I could fit 20 people, but when I have that 10 to, like I said, 10 to 12, 12 will be the max that I'd ever do. There's couches all over the house. There's comfy chairs. There's cozy spots. And this time with this group, for the reading retreat, a lot more people spent time so they have a fully equipped yoga studio with a fireplace. It's absolutely fantastic. And they have these big giant cushions that you can kind of like make a little bed out of these cushions, and pillows and bolsters and all sorts of stuff. And this retreat, compared to the one that I hosted last year at the same location, I had a lot more people spending time in the yoga studio, in the big comfy cushions, with fireplace roaring in the background, and really enjoying themselves. So it was kind of a nice different thing. The weekend was a little bit cold because, of course, it's May long weekend, and everybody knows the golden rule: do not plant anything before the May long weekend because it's probably going to snow. And it was snowing in a lot of different parts of Alberta. We didn't get any snow, but it was chilly. And so we didn't have as many people enjoying the outdoor reading spaces, but we definitely had people enjoying the sauna, the hot tub. I did, okay, I'm going to preface this. I did the cold plunge, but it was like 3 seconds. It was basically the amount of time that it took me to get into the cold plunge, squeal, and then dip myself down, stand up, squeal, and get out. So it was very quick. It wasn't like I was, sitting in the cold plunge and doing, a minute and seeing how I fared after. No, I couldn't. But I got a lot of walking done, and quite a few of the people in the group actually took the opportunity to go and do some walking, whereas the last retreat, not everybody, sort of got outside and kind of walked around the property. So that was interesting to see the difference between the group last year and the group this year, and how they utilized the spaces. And we had quite a few guests that they sat down and they read, and they got a lot of books read. They enjoyed coming up, having a little quick chat, and then heading back down. We had one gal that was like, I really want to catch up on my sleep. It's like, do it. This is your weekend. And I think not having one of the guests, it was funny because she said, her husband was kind of like, well, you could just, have a retreat at home, like just hang out at home. Why would you spend money to go somewhere? And the thing is, yeah, you can make your own retreat at home. Absolutely. But the problem is the laundry is sitting in the corner judging you because you haven't put it away, and the dishes are in the sink like, hey, you going to come wash me? And then you've got humans and animals that are going to come and bother you. So taking yourself out of that space, your house, your apartment, your condo, wherever it is that you live, and putting yourself in a space where you are the only thing you have to focus on. You don't have to make any of the meals. You don't have to clean up after the meals. You can just come, enjoy the meal, grab your snacks, go find your little cozy spot, and enjoy yourself. And so I think there's, putting things together, thinking about how people are going to utilize the space, thinking about how people are going to interact with each other, thinking about the little extras that you can put in for your reader. We want to pamper our readers. We want to make sure they're happy. And so those are some of the things that I think about when I put together these events. The other thing is, because I'm also a chef, taking care of, people's food allergies and making sure that they don't feel like their food allergy is making it harder for me to do my job. Like, I can still do my job and make sure that you feel taken care of. And I think that's, part of it. It's not everybody just come and, give me a bunch of money for doing this event. Like, I put everything back into the event. The space that we rent out is, it costs a lot of money, as it should, because it's a beautiful space and it's got everything, except for large mugs. So in my packing list, I put in like different font and different color on the packing list. Bring your large mug. Um, the facility literally has everything and anything you could think of, but they have these really cool mugs. They're like all these cool pottery mugs. But when I'm drinking my coffee, I want a big giant mug. Like, give me like a soup pot. And so I did tell people to bring your biggest mug. Not everybody did. So then they were like, what kind of mug do I have to choose from my coffee? It's like this little tiny one here. We'll have to use two to make your coffee. Um, and I also just, from last year to this year, one of the things that I did, was as soon as I finished the event last year, I wrote down everything for the food, and sort of what people liked. And as I was watching, people eating stuff and commentary on it, and then planning out the meals for the retreat that we just did in May. And last year, I kind of joke that I brought enough snacks for 100 people, but realistically, I brought enough snacks for 100 people last year. And so when I brought stuff home last year, I had snacks for days. I really did. So this year, I toned down on the snacks that I actually took. And, part of that curating the events is, um, asking people. So I do a survey in advance. And one of the things I ask is, what kind of snacks are you wanting? Because, you want to sit and you want to read, but you also want to have little snacky snacks, and maybe you want the drinks. So the coffees, the teas. So anybody that's listening to this that was at the retreat, I had hot chocolate with me. I'm sorry. When I got home and I was unpacking, I was like, "Oh, there's the hot chocolate." So it was there with me. I don't know where it was. It was there. Nobody drank it because I didn't put it out. So I'll remember for next time. Um, and then the last thing sort of when I'm thinking about for me for events, and so if you're thinking of doing events, what is your thing? What is your little bit of magic that you can add in? So, because I'm also a chocolatier, that's the other thing that I add in is I add in a chocolate bar class. And it's a fun event where people get to be creative. Oh my gosh, I think I had 26 ingredients with me this year. I vary up the ingredients that I bring for the chocolate bar making classes. So for the people, I had 3 people that have done the event before. So they were kind of joking between themselves how many events they've done before, because some of them have done multiple events with me, and I love that. But I always try and bring something a little bit different for those people that have done the event before, and then they're like, "Oh, this is a different ingredient. I haven't done this one yet." So always thinking about these little things that you can do to make somebody's event special, to make it so that they are knowing that this is something they could not get anywhere else. So, coming to an event with myself, you're going to get these other little extra things. The one thing I did forget this time, and one of my participants who was with me last year, she's like, "Did you bring your little lending library?" Because last year I brought a lending library, and I put a note, and it was something like, if you're looking at the pile of books that you brought and you don't want to read any of them, here's a lending library. And I had little card catalogs, things that you could fill out, and a little stamp where you could change the date on it, you could stamp it. And so she was like, "Did you bring that again?" And I said, um friend, the choice was make the food or go and figure out what books to bring. She's like, "Excellent choice." So it was very squirrely for me. I taught up until the day before the retreat was starting. I will not be doing that again. That was a very not a smart decision on my part, because then I was running around like a foolish person, trying to get everything done. And luckily, because I used to be a chef, I could put food together really fast, but it's not my preference. And there was when you're trying to think about all the little things and the little touches that you want to put together, I didn't want to be rushing. And so, yeah, we're not going to do that again next year, because I got home from teaching on the Thursday night, started putting the book, so I do book gift bags. So they're book themed gift bags. And I was putting those together at like 10 o'clock at night the night before, after I'd spent 3 hours grocery shopping. So that was a not ideal situation. Now for the Martha Stewart article, so one of the things that she talks about in the article is that, the retreats offer a chance to unplug. And this can be any kind of retreat. So for those of you out there that are my author listeners, I talked a little bit about in a previous episode the writing retreat that I did. And you don't have to make this complicated. So if you're thinking, gosh, it would be so nice to get away to unplug from all the things that, maybe are holding you back from getting writing done at your house, because, you're thinking about, shoot, I gotta like go to the lawn and I gotta plant my garden. I just want to write right now. So sometimes it's just that unplugging, um, and reconnecting. If you are a reader, it's reconnecting with your love of sitting down and enjoying a book that, I don't know, when I think of it, it's like when I was a kid and I could just lay in bed and read a book and I had no other worries in the world. I just didn't. And I think for a lot of us adults, because we were either push, struggle, hustle, grind, whatever it is you want to call it. And we're constantly like, we got to be, relentless forward progression, RFP. And we forget that we can just step off the crazy train, just step off and do something for yourself. And I think for some people it's guilt. I should be doing, I should be, you got a lot of should haves. You're going to change your name to should have. People are shoulding all over you, right? And for some people, it's the, I don't deserve to take away time from my family, my work, my friends, this, that, and the next thing, to go and do something for myself. So it's really interesting in this Martha Stewart article. She just talks. It's a very short article. I posted it on my Instagram a couple days ago because it was very timely. We literally just finished the reading retreat on the 17th, and the article came out on the 20th, I think. So, yeah. But also for the reading retreats or the writing retreats or whatever type of retreat you're doing, a chance to also talk to other people, and so one of the things I did, so I sent emails out before the event. So it's like, here's your packing list, here's your directions, here's your survey, so I can make sure I get all your food desires taken care of, right? If you're ordering beef Wellington, like, I'm sorry, I'm not making that for you. I heart you, but no. um and and then the other thing was sending out the gentle reminder that, because it's a reading retreat, let the people read. So, if you want to be chatty, that's great, but make sure that the person you want to chat with also wants to chat, and they don't want to literally just be like, please let me just read my book, because if I wanted chatting, I would have just stayed home, or I would have went to a coffee shop with a friend. So that was another one. So we had lots of people kind of drift in and out of conversations, which was great. So again, I sent that just gentle reminder beforehand, to make sure to let people read and for the people that were like, I want to come and I really need to recharge, and so I'm going to spend about half my time sleeping. Do it. Put your audiobook on, fall asleep, do what you need to do, because this opportunity to reset, recharge is your opportunity. It's not somebody else's. And so I love that people really, really did take an opportunity. Like I said, I had some guests that, read 3 books. I had other guests that were like, I read half a book, but I went into the sauna and I spent time in the yoga studio and I had a nap. You do you, boo. The other thing it talks about in this article is creating some intentional focus. And that in the article, it says intentional focus without digital distractions. So that could be, no doom scrolling, no using your weapon of mass distraction, aka your phone, to, kind of get those dopamine hits, right? To put that phone away. I actually had my phone away. I messaged my sweetie a couple times and I did some pictures. And other than that, I didn't have my phone out. I did not check my email. I did not check. I didn't do anything. I posted like 2 things just so that people could see where we were at. And then for the most part, I literally left my phone in the bedroom and I did not bother with it. And whew, was that ever nice? Was that ever nice? The other thing in the article that I thought was really interesting was um, that it kind of talks about how there's like a rise of reading retreats, and honestly there are some people out there that are doing 3 or 4 international reading retreats a year, and man, that's amazing. There's some people that are doing retreats where they're having like private bookstore shopping experiences because they're, close to a bookstore, they're bringing a bookstore in, or there's some that are doing some wild things. Where we are for this retreat, we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so that would be a bit more of a challenge. But if I was doing something where, we're closer, there's 2 book trucks in Alberta. Um, there's Under the Covers, and then there's one, I think it's called Book Truck, like Book Talk. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But, something like that where maybe if we're closer to where they are, they're not, those 2 particular businesses are not located in the same area where I live. But if we were doing something closer to them, that could be maybe a fun thing to do. And I think that's why for me, I do the chocolate bar class because again, that's something very unique. But the other thing in the article that she talks about is having, people that are experienced, that know what they're doing, to create these events, and then having the people participating in the events feel very taken care of. And so she likes to say, that she's interviewing somebody in the article and talking about being taken care of, being with like-minded readers, being with people that have, kind of respect for each other, and everybody reads differently. Nobody at the retreat was like, "Oh, you're reading sci-fi? Oh, I only read, this type of book." Like, nobody's doing that. People are like, "Oh my gosh, what are you reading?" And people are kind of like gushing. And then it was funny because one person would be like, "Oh, I just read this book." And then other people would be like, "Oh, I read that book." Or, "Oh my gosh, I wanted to read that book. I'm putting it up my TBR." And so those little conversations where people would kind of like say something, each person would kind of pipe in, contribute, and then people would be right back to reading. So I really liked that. So I think for this, episode, it's kind of think about if you want to host a retreat. Okay, so how are you going to host it? Who's making the food? Are you providing food? Or you're not providing food? Where's the location? And like I said, one of the reasons that I pick the location that I currently pick for my Alberta retreats is most of my guests are in Edmonton and area. Our furthest guests are coming from just south of Edmonton, but you're not spending a day driving somewhere. And folks, there are lots of amazing locations in like the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, that would offer different opportunities for other activities, hiking and stuff like that. but the driving is 4+ hours. So you're looking 4 to 6 hours depending on where you live. And whereas for mine, like, yes, we're outside we're out in the country, but from my place, which is in the north part of the city that I live in, I can actually take highway almost the whole way there. And so it's not taking me very long to get there at all. And I think that's a real draw for people. Like, that's a check in the bonus column. I'm not spending the whole day to get there. The other thing you want to think about when you're putting the retreats together is as your group is coming together, starting to figure out and learn a little bit about your group by doing either forms and surveys and stuff like that that you can send out in advance. I just use my Google Forms and send out my surveys. I will be sending a follow-up survey to everybody probably tomorrow. And just how did everything go? What did you like? What else would you want to see at an event like this? And the final thing is thinking about the comfort level of your guests. Maybe you have a spot and it's funny because the writing retreat that I did, it says it slept 4, and it did sleep 4. I'm glad it was just the two of us, because the 3 of the people would have been in the upstairs loft, and that staircase was like frightening. It was so steep. And I think that would have made people feel cramped. So if you're thinking about an event, you're thinking about hosting an event or anything like that, start to think a little bit about the comfort level of your guests. Do they have enough space to spread out, lay down with that fuzzy blanket? We got, I'm going to just say this, all of the fuzzy blankets at Rising Moon Studios were used by all the guests, all the readers. Pretty much everybody kind of like claimed their little fuzzy blanket, and I love that. And I love that as the host facility, that the owner is thinking about. People are going to want, the fuzzy comfy blankets, the big giant pillows, and each room is so nicely done. And they had a new room this time, which they didn't have the last time we were there. And I snagged that room for myself. I was like, ooh, as the organizer, I get the king size bedroom. It also had a desk, which was perfect because I actually had a webinar to do while I was there. So think about your guests, think about their comfort, think about the group that you're putting together, and then thinking about, if you are doing food, how are you doing that food? I do everything family style a la carte because it just makes it so much easier. Reading retreats, writing retreats, any of these things, they are on the rise. People are looking for detachment from the daily grind, but they're also looking for connection with other readers, writers, all of those things. I didn't read very much during the reading retreat because obviously I'm hosting, but I did work on my book, and I was very happy to actually get some time to work on my book. So that was lovely. If you're thinking about doing any kind of a retreat like that, just kind of look around at what other people are doing and figure out what your special little bit of magic is that you're going to put into that retreat. With that, that's everything for today. I wanted to kind of just do a recap because I love when an event like that happens, and I'm paddling like a mad person under the water, but up top my duck body is calm, cool, and collected, and underneath I am chaos. I am absolute chaos. But I think for the guests, for me, my joy is when the guests are leaving the event and they're smiling and they're happy, and you can tell that they had a really good time and they had a good experience, and that was an experience that I created, and that makes me happy. So wherever you are listening from and however you enjoy your books, there's always a place for you here. Thanks so much, everyone.